Welcome to the talk on evolution of public administration as a discipline. This is the third topic in the BA first semester public administration in Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. Evolution of public administration as a discipline. What does it mean? See, whenever we talk about something, we have to know the meanings of the words. Evolution. What is evolution? Evolution is a genesis, is a growth, is an advancement. Whenever we talk about society, human advancement, human evolution. What is a human evolution? Human evolution has taken about millions of years. Societal advancement, societal evolution. Society has started from the primitive societies to industrial societies. This is another important aspect of it. So, genesis, growth, advancement of a particular institution is called as evolution. It applies to human beings, it applies to bureaucracy, it applies to governments, it applies to various aspects of the disciplines. So, we are going to discuss about what is the evolution of a public administration as a discipline. Discipline means a teaching area, a research area, a training area. A teaching area in the universities as a subject, a training area for a subject for the bureaucrats, a research area as a part of the university systems. So, now in evolutionary perspective of the public administration, the first important aspect is the pre-modern concepts. What is a modernity? See, modernity, whenever we use the word modernity, industrialization and after modernity. We started a printing press, we started about steam engines, we started about identifying new routes to various continents of the world. This is all called about modernization. Some people will start exactly with Columbus, how the Columbus has identified the routes, some people start something. What about the industrialization is one of the important area whenever we discuss about for the modernity and modernization. So, before industrialization is not there public administration. Is it a public administration is a new phenomena? No. Public administration, public and administration is a two different words, but administration was there much before of the modernity. Even in the pre-modern societies, even in primitive societies, people are going together to hunt an animal. There is a principle of administration. Somebody will shout, somebody will kill it, somebody will cut it, somebody will distribute it, division of work, distribution, authority, whatever we talk about all these things. Then one of the important aspect was all these principles of administration was existed in the primitive societies. There was a Greek state, there was a Roman Empire. The Roman Empire has gone up to all the continents, not to the America, but the control of the total Europe and Asian parts of it. Alexander came to India. There was a hierarchy, there was a management, there was a different type of things of the control of the military and a rule, all these things. Even in a pre-modern concept, whenever we talk of Kautilya's Arthashastra, Sun Tzu's Art of War, all these were existed much of the modernity before Christ. 4th century, 11th century, 4th century up to 10,000. So, what is the important aspect was modernity is related with industrialization. Industrialization, whenever the industrialization has started, the important aspect of the birth of organization came. Organization, whatever we are talking now. Organization it was necessary for industries at that time. Henry Fayol identified how an organization has to work. For what? For industry. F.W. Taylor identified science of management. What for? For industries. So, if you take about a different, Chester Bernard identified formal organization and informal organization. For what? Running of a government in the modern systems. So, Whenever we talk of a public administration as a discipline, it is related with the industrialization aspects of it. So, one of the important aspects of the public administration, whenever we discuss about, first important aspect was 1887, Woodrow Wilson has written an article of the study of administration. From that onwards, the discipline of the public administration has started. That means a study of administration as a separate discipline. In this total concept of it, we have a different schools of thought, different schools of thought. The first school of thought is classical school. What is a classical school? It is a formal organization theory. People call it as a mechanistic theory. People call it as an economic man model. So, classical school identified what is the actual administration said by the Henry Fayol and all the people. In a classical school, we all the time refer about Henry Fayol, Max Weber, Frederick Winslow Taylor, Luther Gulick. These are the four people, Gulick and Warwick also. Generally, we will talk about them in together. So, hence, it is a Henry Fayol is the first man, Max Weber, who is identified a bureaucracy is an important aspect, Frederick Taylor, scientific management, Luther Gulick and Lyndall Warwick, principles of administration. These 5 people's contributions are called as classical school. What is their basic contribution? The classical school identified the institution as an important institutional approach. Institution is important, and how this institution is going to work. Who are the people who are going to work in that? How to select that people? How to train them? What are the rules and regulations? That is why classical school talks about ultimately rule is important. So, even that now in government you go to the Tahsil office, you go to a collector office, you go to any place. Whenever you ask for a work, the employee immediately will think of rule book. What is a rule book? What he has to do, there is a rule. How he has to do, there is a rule. Classical school concentrates on these rules. Rules are important than the game. This is what they talk. So, Henry Fayol identified 14 elements of administration. How these 14 elements are going to be work in an organization, in an institution. He said about division of work, he said about coordination, he said about aspirate de corps, how a group can work together, how it is going to be coordinated, how motivate the people through the work, all these type of things Henry Fayol said, and whenever the Henry Fayol lesson comes, we are going to discuss about these parts. What is Henry Fayol contribution in the classical school? The another personality is Max Weber. So, Max Weber was born in Germany and identified bureaucracy. He identified bureaucracy for a different purpose. Ultimately, it is working in a differently in all over the world after him. So, bureaucracy basically he says what is authority. Again, he says authority is a 3 types: traditional authority and charismatic authority and the legal authority. In legal authority, he says legal authority is the basically important aspect. What is legal authority? Legal authority will come from top to down by rules. So, rules, and he identified some principles of written documents, each and every activity to be written, documented. Even if you go through somehow I can refer to a book called The Roots by Alex Haley, which is an important book in America and Africa. All the slaves came to America, they brought slaves to America. In American market, there was a slave market, they used to sell. Ultimately, 7th generation lady, Alex Haley, she wants to know who was our grandfather. And she went to all the way, then Gambia, and identified that was Kinta Kunte was has the 7th top level and a grandfather in the 7th generation after Alex Haley was there. Then where is the proof? It was found in a document that Kinta Kunte was brought from Gambia forcefully to America, and she showed to the world, this is what our generations. So, written documents, now we say Kautilya's Arthashastra written about 3rd century BC. So, and we say Bhagavad Gita has written about 11,000 years. Bible was written about after the Jesus Christ. So, Bible was written about for the Jews. So, whenever we talk about written document is going to help for the human beings. Classical school concentrates on written documents. Taylor, scientific management. What is a science? How to make scientific? It is basically factory related, art of cutting metals, time study, motion study, and all these things he identified. So, the another important aspect is Taylor's scientific management is one. Then come to the Luther Gulick and Lyndall Warwick. These two people, in 1937 they published the book, the Papers on Science of Administration. It's a edited volume, and the important people's articles were there, but they identified 10 basic principles of administration, 10 basic principles of administration. And they say these are the principles. These principles are having universal validity. Wherever you go, public administration is going to start with a division of work and with a sphere of control. They identified what is hierarchy, how the authority will come from top to down, information will go from bottom to up. They identified about unity of command. A person has to receive orders only from one boss, not from all. Then it will become an anarchy. So, decentralization, work cannot be centralized, it has to be decentralized, organizations has to be there. Like theory of departmentalization, like this in Luther Gulick lesson, we are going to discuss about these 10 principles in detail. So, classical school ultimately identified what is efficiency, what is economy, what is effectiveness. This is called about the EQ model. They concentrated institutions efficiency. They concentrated about how to economically do the work. These are the important, then effectively to do the work. So, the important aspect of the classical school is that Luther Gulick, Lyndall Warwick, Henry Fayol or Taylor, all these is one. The next school in public administration, evolution of the public administration is neoclassical school. The neoclassical school is basically, the people call it as a human relations theory. An intelligent student simply can identify in the whole of the classical school, we never mentioned about a word called human being. We had a talk about institution, we had talk about a rule, we had talk about principle, we talk about bureaucracy, we talk about a impersonal order, but not about a human being. So, neoclassical school talks, that is, this is another name is human relations school. There are some important people like Elton Mayo, Mary Parker Follett, Chester Bernard. These are the people are important in the neoclassical school. This human relations theory first time, that is after the First World War and the different type of things are started. After the First World War and different type of things, human beings are important. A success of organization depend upon human beings. If a human being wants to work well, he works well. If a human being doesn't want to work, he want to manage the things like this, he is going to do. So, basically institution has to take care about the human beings, its employees. If ultimately what is management? Managing men. What is a man? Human beings are having a different type of things. He will tell one thing openly, if we think that he is telling openly, but he thinks differently inside. Then how the organization effectiveness is going to be there. So, these are the important aspects of the human relations school. Mary Parker Follett. Elton Mayo actually he conducted in the Western Electrical Company some of the studies, and in his lesson we are going to detail in discussion, but he said the efficiency comes based on how you are dealing with your employees. It is not dictating, it is not to control the discipline through threw in the name of a stick or a suspension or something. No. We have to deal with the employees differently as a human being. They are also human beings ultimately. So, this is one of the important aspects of the Elton Mayo. He conducted about 3 different type of studies. They called as a Hawthorne studies in a Western Electrical Company of the Chicago. So, that he identified ultimately efficiency will come from the understanding the human being and his activity of the work. The another is Mary Parker Follett. Actually, majority of the people don't know about the things that Mayo used to attend Follett lectures. Whenever Follett lectures are there, Mayo used to attend personally and appreciate her in all the things. Mary Parker Follett, she is an American philosopher and writer. She actually worked for constructive conflict. All human beings are not same. All human beings thinking, thought process are not same. Conflicts are compulsory. Conflicts are necessary because each human being works with a different type of a chemistry. And don't think that conflicts are bad. Conflicts are good. If somebody is saying differently, try to understand it. Then how we can use it for the system. That is why she says constructive conflict. Through authority, through domination, snubbing them, not to allow them to talk, not good at all. So, the important aspect is, she says conflicts are compulsory, conflicts are good for organization. This is one of the human relations theory. Next is Chester Bernard. Chester Bernard came with a different type of a things, because classical school said about a formal organization theory, but he came with a informal organizations theory. Formal organization works on based on principles of administration, a hierarchy, a span of control, a division of things, etc., etc. But whereas he says organizations are with human beings. To understand the human beings, that is why without knowing in a formal organization, there will be informal organization, because they are continuously working for decades to decades. They develop a different type of a friendship. They develop a different type of attachment to each and everybody. They establish 2 different types of groups, and that groups works perfectly rather than about a formal organization. So, that is why nowadays we will see so and so batch students, wherever they were, they have a contacts. So and so batch IAS officers, they have a contact. Whenever there is a work, whichever state, they will talk and complete it. What it does mean? It says informal grouping. Even in organizations, informal groupings are compulsory. You can't avoid it. The duty of a chief executive is, the success of the chief executive is to understand the functioning of the informal organizations. That is why Chester Bernard says one of the important sentence. What is authority? Authority is not the person issuing orders. Authority is going to be there once your subordinate accept it. So, authority not lies with you, it is with them. Once they accept, your authority is there. Once they are not accepting, there is no authority. Authority is only on the paper. So, the duty of chief executive is to maintain it, to accept. That is through informal organizations. These are some important aspects of the neoclassical school or a human relations school. It has come as a part of the classical system. They revised it, reformed it little bit. They never said against of institutions. They never said recruitment systems. The point is how to take work from the people who are working in organizations. Another important aspect is behavioralism. This is after Second World War. Human behavior systems, etc. has come out. So, study of behavior. This is a logical positivism. This is one of the important aspects of the basis of the behavioral school. Even recently we are doing that. One of the some of the saints from the Indian philosophy, like Uddalaka. Uddalaka is teaching to his son, and Uddalaka shows salt. Then he asks son, take the salt and put it in the water. And son takes the water, the salt and put it in the water. And son says, Dad, whatever you are saying, there is no salt now, it has disappeared. Then Uddalaka asks his son, taste the water. Then he tasted. How it is? Now salt is in the water. After tasting the water, you are recognizing still there is salt. Logical positivism is also the same thing. After testing of a particular thing, then come to a reality. So, this is a logical positivism, basically a school. This is collecting a data, identify it without a result, without testing it, do not come to a conclusion. So, after Bernard, Herbert Simon is one of the important personality. The Herbert Simon has called as one of the behavioralistic personality. Human behavior is one of the important aspects. Organization is human beings, then Simon talks about decision making. How the human behavior, what is the decision making, how decisions are going to be taken. For his book of administrative behavior, he got a Nobel Prize in 1978, Herbert Simon. In the decision making theory, he says that there is a rational man and administrative man. Rational man is a good man, he knows all 100% of the things. Generally, we are also thinking that somebody is very good man, rational man. We are thinking that rational man means 100%, he knows everything, a perfect gentleman, perfect administrator. In practice, rational man never exists, he will not be there, only idealism. Administrative man exists. What is an administrative man? He knows 50% and above, not below, 50% above, 60%, 70%, maybe up to 99%, but not 100%. The success administrative man is decision making is depend upon it 6 different type of rationalities. And able to understand these rationalities, then which is suitable type of a decision. So, this is where in Herbert Simon lesson we are going to in detail about what is these 6 rationalities, how they are going to work about. So, this is a behavioral school which has come later part of it and along with a motivational theory. Ultimately, what is this motivational theory is which is dominant after behavioralism, later behavioralism school. Start with Abraham Maslow, McGregor talking about theory X, theory Y, Rensis Likest, 4 system school. What are all these? How to motivate? What is the root cause of the motivation? So, these are the called as a behavioralism and lateral behavioralism schools in public administration in the evolution part. Then there is a postmodern public administration. This is one of the latest trend of the postmodernism was started after 1970. The Foucault and the different type of things. Basically, it started about art and architecture. Why the buildings are in the same design? You will be surprised. Apartments are in the same model. There is a window, there is a wall, there is something. It started with a studying of architecture. It went on up to a different type of a thing. Basically, critical of the existing. Basically, a critical of the structuralism, critical of the existing, critical of the bureaucracy, critical of a principles of organization. And they say bureaucratic neutrality is a farce, which is true. No bureaucrat is neutral. He all the time takes sides. Nobody will follow exactly the rule. He all the time identify exemption from the rules. So, neutrality according to them is a myth. So, postmodern public administration, reality, hyper reality, modernity, postmodern, these are some jargon of the words one side, but at the same time advancement of a different type of things. Now, if you just now we discussed about 5 important aspects of a pre-modern concepts of public administration as a discipline, and after it is a discipline is a classical school and neoclassical or a human relations school, behavioralistic school, and motivational schools, then postmodern schools. These are the different type of schools to understand public administration as a discipline. But at the same time, we have a different type of paradigms. So, Nicholas Henry, one of the important writer and important personality in public administration, he identified a different type of paradigms. Paradigm means in a particular social, cultural and economic concept, a paradigm will emerge. He called the politics administration dichotomy is the first paradigm. 1887 to he has taken up to 1926. Woodrow Wilson has written first article 1887, study of administration, taken up to Goodnow 1900, then up to the 1926. L.D. White is writing the book and other parts of it. This is a first area, first paradigm, first development of public administration. Then he called second paradigm is called principles of administration. Public administration from there came to principles of administration. Professor F.W. Willoughby and afterwards Luther Gulick and Lyndall Wurwik's papers of science of administration. One was the principles of administration, another was papers on science of administration between 1927 to 1937, 1 decade. Then came to the era of change. This era of a change he has taken from Chester Bernard's functions of executive of 1938 to administration behavior of the Herbert Simon of the 1947. They say from the principles we came into the behavioralism, we came into the human relation aspect of it. Then he says between 1948 and 1970 there was a crisis of identity. Public administration is struggling for identity. The new management schools have come, a different type of a business management schools appeared in all over the world. Then public administration entered into a crisis. Though after the Wilson study, Goodnow study, we came out of the political science, but things went on differently. Then later from 1971 to 1980, that whole decade went on a public policy perspective. New public policy schools has come. So, public policy, its preparation, its execution, its evaluation, its benefits, a different type of studies appeared. This is another paradigm that is called public policy perspective, and paradigm is in a fifth paradigm. Then later part, which Nicholas Henry has not said about it, but later part, another paradigm is new public management. This new public management aspect, which has emerged from 1980 onwards, public choice theory, expansion of the public choice theory as a new public management is another important aspect, as we have seen between 1980 to 1990, which started basically in European soil and New Zealand and Australian soil, etc., etc. Later part is the governance and e-governance perspective. So, 1991 World Bank model of a governance and development started, and 2001, 2000 onwards ICT has entered into the public administrative systems. So, 1991 to 2010-11 is one of the perspective called about new paradigm of governance paradigm and ICT paradigm in public administration. So, in practically public administration as a discipline, it has emerged from the pre-modern concept to classical schools, and this classical schools and classical philosophy which has dominated the public administration. Then neoclassical school, which is a human relations theory identifying the employee as one of the human being in public administration systems. Then human behavior is ultimately one of the socio-psychological approach of the important is human behavior in organizations. And after behavioralism, there is a postmodernistic system criticizing everything, and the reality and the hyper reality systems which has dominated. A new type of a philosophies has emerged. Dadaism, if you talk about a culture, if you talk about a different type of a systems, which are one of the some of the important aspects are emerged in the postmodern perspectives. After that, this is about as a discipline, it has gone through 6 different type of stages: a pre-modern, a classical, a neoclassical, behavioralistic, lateral behavioralism, and postmodernism. But whenever we divide into paradigms, a particular division has come. Then politics administration dichotomy is first one, principles of administration is second one, era of a change where public administration tried to learn from the various things, and public policy perspective is another one, new public management is another one, and governance and e-governance is a different type of paradigms which emerged right from 1887 to 2011. Now we are in governance and e-governance perspective and paradigm of the public administration. So, to sum up this lesson, public administration as a discipline, it has a history generally with the pre-modern concept where generally human literature which has started human beings advancement. But whereas a discipline we started, we take a point of the 1887 of the Woodrow Wilson's the study of administration to now the important aspect of the governance perspective.